There's been a new development in the Matt Hoover Autokey Card case, which I'm sure people aren't expecting because we already know he and Irwin were both found guilty and are awaiting sentencing. As it turns out, this update has nothing to do with Hoover or Irwin themselves, but the journalists who covered the case and released some of the most damning details of the government's arguments, and even their instructions to tamper with the jury process. These are some pretty damaging details, so naturally, the government is looking to cover its tracks, and has issued gag orders against at least 2 Second Amendment reporters. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Before we get to the details of this one, I would like to thank Gag Gold for sponsoring this video. Precious metals are always a good investment, in my opinion, but are an especially good bet right now with the crazy inflation we've been seeing. Of course, with the dollar going wild, that means gold prices are also all over the place. But Acre is offering this really cool service that is basically a subscription service for gold, and it starts as low as $30 a month. That money goes into your gold stash, and once the stash reaches the price of their gold bars, you get that gold bar shipped right to your door, quiet and discreet, all for only $1 a day, which makes it a really great way to start your savings. To find out more, go to my link down in the description. A lot of the deeper dives that I post on come from reporting done by folks over at Bearing Arms and AmmoLand News. John Crump and his associate Flying Rich Hughes are two of those reporters and have covered the Autokey Card case pretty extensively. And for that, they're now receiving gag orders from an assistant U.S. attorney. For those not familiar with the case, you can watch this video linked up above, but the short version is Justin Irvin created a novelty item called the Autokey Card, which had a drawing of a lightning link on it, an item which, allegedly, if cut out, could be used to make a gun full auto. Matt Hoover of CRS Firearms on YouTube advertised this card, supposedly after initially getting permission from the ATF, which doesn't seem to have been in writing. The ATF then shut down Irvin's website, Hoover stopped advertising, and the ATF came after him too. Both were charged and found guilty of violating the NFA because the ATF argued that the card itself was a machine gun, which it isn't, and First Amendment arguments comparing the card to the constitutionally protected anarchist cookbook apparently did nothing. During the trial, it turns out that the U.S. Attorney's Office made a late-night request that the jury be instructed that the Autokey Card is a machine gun, whether it works or not, and that they must rule if the men transferred the items and if the men's intent was to transfer uncut lightning links. They also wanted the judge to prevent the defense from arguing that the Autokey Card was not a machine gun. The prosecutor, Assistant U.S. Attorney Laura Cofer Taylor, didn't take kindly to Crump reporting on this obvious case of trying to sway the jury. According to a video Crump put out yesterday, he also received a pre-sentencing report from Hoover, who had no obligation to keep it a secret. Case law says that officers of the court can't share it, but defendants are not included in that law. Taylor has filed a secret gag order against Crump, demanding all copies of the report be destroyed and that he and Flying Rich stop reporting on the case. Crump and his team found out before the order goes into effect and are fighting it with the help of Gun Owners of America. The motion was filed on the 7th, and now Bearing Arms, its readers, and myself all have a copy. From the order, the United States of America, by and through the undersigned Assistant United States Attorney, hereby notifies this court that there is a cause to believe that Defendant Hoover, via his wife, has transmitted a copy of his pre-sentence investigation report, PSR, to certain YouTube personalities with the intention that those individuals use the PSR to create YouTube videos. The motion references a phone call in which Hoover gave Crump information and Crump asked his permission to cover it on YouTube. It also references a phone call to Flying Rich about the info in the pre-sentencing report, during which he also told Flying Rich he could report on it. During those calls, he stated he didn't want it covered on his own channel out of fear the prosecution would use it against him. The attorney's main complaint is not that the videos were made and reports shared in order to bring light to an injustice, but that in her eyes, the sole purpose of the reporting was so that people would make mean comments on YouTube. And here she includes a long list such as long as there are no lethal consequences for that prosecutor, you can expect this to happen again and again. And to reply to that comment reading, that persecutor having to deal with cancer is just the beginning of his karma. The whole matter is a travesty and the evil pricks are loading up on bad karma and they deserve every bit of it. Waiting for that judge to get some bad news too. I would hate to have the karma that prosecutor has earned for herself. Then again, I wouldn't want her job. I enjoy sleeping at night. Sometimes cancer can be a good thing. With the reply, the body's side reaction to cancer treatment I would not wish on anyone, but the likes of this evil prosecutor an exception is granted. Court system is really only good at breaking up the family unit, and a reply reading should have never gotten to that point. These men should have just started dropping cops. I'm glad the prosecutor isn't happy. In fact, I hope cancer is happily doing its work. He shouldn't get any time at all. The judge and prosecutor should be locked up for their obvious lack of a brain and being a danger to society, etc., etc., etc. Several of these comments that were left on Crump's video were liked by Crump. Oh my god, people on the internet use their free speech to wish bad karma on a lawyer and someone liked the comments? She further accuses Crump and Rich Hughes of using the information to obstruct justice for money, writing, "The content appears to be aimed at generating vitriol against the undersigned and this court with the intent to intimidate and obstruct these proceedings while generating views and profits for Hoover, Crump, and Hughes." You know, I like John Crump and I like his work, but I wouldn't call him the most intimidating man on the internet. Nor would I call the simple act of reporting the news obstruction of justice. Clearly, though, this prosecutor has an agenda of her own, and so she closes, "Wherefore the government requests that this court issue an order reiterating that the PSRs are non-public documents and may not be disseminated beyond court personnel, the defense teams, and the U.S. Attorney's Office, in order that any individuals who possess a copy of the PSR without authority, including Crump, Hughes, and Erica Hoover, destroy it and confirm its destruction in writing and any other relief this court deems necessary to protect the sentencing process in this case." Basically, Taylor's argument in saying they shared the information purely for money and insulting the court is an argument that Crump and Flying Rich aren't journalists and thus don't deserve the protection of journalists under the law. Also, that comments she doesn't like on YouTube don't fall under free speech, and neither does a defendant discussing the case in which they were already found guilty. For what it's worth, Crump has legitimate credentials labeling him as a journalist with several firearms organizations, and that is something that's being argued in his case. No judge worth their salt would accuse Crump of using this information just to troll on the internet, but we have seen crazier rulings. No matter what comes out of this, in the end, it definitely proves one thing, and that is that tyrants gonna tyrant. Alright guys, that is it for this video. I will be sure to cover any future developments on this bizarre turn in this case. Make sure that you click the like button, you subscribe if you're new here, and ring the notification bell so that you can be kept up to date. And, of course, as always, thank you for tuning in. Stay safe from the government out there, and happy shooting.